Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy the D20 here, and I know I'm late with the chapter reviews, but some stuff came up. Your boy caught a stomach bug, and I've actually not been feeling the greatest. Haven't been sick as a dog, no Rona, don't worry, I'm fine. But haven't been feeling the absolute greatest. Now, as you know, if you've watched my last update video, Pray for Oda, One Piece did not come out this week. I haven't looked more into the situation, although I see another YouTuber, bigger YouTuber than me, he was saying that Oda's recovered. I haven't looked into it, so but it's still looking like we don't get another chapter for like another 11 days. So I think that's not this upcoming week, because today is October 6th when I'm recording this. But yeah, that's going up. That should be coming up in another couple weeks. Hey, let Oda rest. He said he needed some time. Let's get a man his time. But unlike normal, and I hope this continues to be a thing, we got a replacement chapter for One Piece. So we'll be doing Black Clover, My Hero Academia, and a one-shot for Demon Slayer. Now, if you watch my channel, you know that most of my videos, well, a few of my videos, can't say most of, a few of my videos are actually Demon Slayer videos talking about the Demon Slayer universe, the breathing styles. So yeah, and I didn't actually get off my ass and make my channel and do everything until Demon Slayer ended, so I've never had a chance to review a Demon Slayer chapter. So this will be interesting. Got kind of a headache, so hopefully this will go out today that I'm recording this. If not, you'll be seeing it tomorrow. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Shonen Showdown. Alright, and without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start off with Black Clover, page 266, Dark Garden Invitation. The chapter starts off with Julius relaying the message to Gaja and the Heart Kingdom about the upcoming plan, telling them that they're going to leave in 3 days in the early morning to invade the Spade Kingdom. To which Gaja replies that he's currently joined Noel and the others with the elves, trying to get stronger, and he vows that he's going to take the queen back. To which he tells Julius, hey, Noel and the others are with me, and we're gonna be there, we're gonna get stronger, we're going to help. He then has a very dark look on his face, well, very angry look on his face, thinking about Lola Peshka and how he's gonna save her, with Charlotte doing the same with Yami. We then cut over to Nacht addressing the Black Bulls, telling them that 3 days from now they're going to attack the Spade Kingdom. To which everybody's still kind of reeling, like, you're the Black Bulls vice captain. We've never seen you, and really, why is that? To which he promptly responds, because he hates them. He then goes on to say that being a Magic Knight is pretty much all he cares about, and any squad will do, and the Black Bulls are the worst of the worst. And being vice captain just helps in that, allowing him to do as he pleases. And he then goes on to berate the Black Bulls, telling them that they're all good for nothings. He then goes on to tell them that just because they were integral in stopping the war 6 months prior with the elves, that doesn't change anything. They're still good for nothing. He then goes on to point out all their flaws, Vanessa being a drunk, then Finral being loose with women. Well, he used to be. He then goes on to talk about Gauche being a ruined noble and a former convict. He goes on to Magna, who looks evil and used to be a delinquent and is a peasant, and another peasant being Zora, and etc., etc. To which Gray, scared as she is, goes on to say that that isn't true and they're all good people. To which Nacht coldly replies, if you don't want to be judged by your looks, you shouldn't look like that. Which is something that I hate. And I understand what he's talking about, but you can't just go off judging people by their looks. That old saying, never judge a book by its cover, because you never really know what's going on inside. He then goes on to tell them that just because that when a person who looks evil does good, it doesn't erase the good. And though that makes them more likable, he hates that. And he then goes on to tell them that the greatest people are the ones who do good from the beginning. He says that they're all just a bunch of good for nothings that Yami picked, and that even so, if they want to save his life, they better use the next couple of days to get stronger. He then emerges with Asta, who wasn't with him while he was going off on everybody. It should be noted, because I don't think Asta would let that shit slide. He then emerges from a shadow with Asta in a forest, to which Asta kind of starting to get the hang of his magic, it being shadow magic. And he even explains that whatever his shadow is touching, whatever he touches, along with himself, can move from shadow to shadow, pretty much making it sort of like spatial magic, as we've kind of already gathered from how he appeared to how he got into the meeting with the other captains. Everything is starting to kind of line up, which is pretty dope. So I guess this would be a lower. I guess you could kind of look at it as a lower form of Yami's darkness magic, because Yami's darkness magic does have space capabilities, but not to this degree, and it looks like this may be a lesser form of it, due to it not being as battle ready as Yami's magic. I think Yami's magic is stronger than this, although we may learn to the contrary. But right now, I'm gonna put darkness magic above shadows, but we'll see. They then walk up to a ruined mansion, to which they into the foyer, and Asta's wondering whose house is this. To which Noct goes on to say that it's a certain nobles, and a formal nobles, that is. Now, one thing that we should pay attention to in this chapter, in the lower left, there's a picture of a family. There's a man, a woman, and a boy with black hair, and another child whose face is cut off by a straight piece of wood. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and put this theory out there. It's Noct's house, his childhood home. Now, and this ties back into an earlier chapter among the captains, when I think it might have been Jack who looked at Noct and said, "Hey, I've seen you with Yami before on the Grey Deer." Now, I don't think that was Noct. Now that this has been, now this has come out, I don't think that was Noct. I think that might have been his sibling. And I say sibling because Noct has feminine features, like Noct could pass for a girl. So I think the person we saw in the flashback might have been Noct's brother or sister, yet again sibling, and they might have had something with Yami, which might have driven him to choose the Black Bulls. He might say like, "Oh, any squad would do," but if you're such a fine, upstanding magic knight, then why didn't you choose any other squad? Green Praying Mantis, Purple Orca, Aqua Deer. Hell, he probably could have even gotten in the Golden Dawn with his skills, which it's looking like he's a pretty skilled person with just his magic alone. So I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, there's something here, and especially with this potentially being his childhood home, a person who looks like him associating with Yami. Definitely think that there's a little bit more to Noct than meets the eye, and this whole thing with Yami is playing I think there's a little bit more intricate story going on there. But anywho, they continue, to which he says, "We're here," but we're here. They're just in a corner of the foyer, to which Noct activates a shadow magic while touching the ground, saying "Dark Garden Invitation," the chapter's namesake. They didn't fall through; they sucked into the shadows, and I believe it's in the basement, or he might have just took him there and then teleported him somewhere else so he wouldn't know where we're going. Well, they're going. Excuse me, not we. I'm not in this shit. Now, the place they're taken to, it should be noted that it is a very sinister looking place. There are pillars. It looks like 6 pillars around a raised platform with a chandelier over it, and in the pillars there are skulls. And as Noct is walking away from Asta, who's still kind of confused, he's walking up on the raised platform. He says, "For the next 2 days, I'll teach you everything I know about devil magic. As a result, you'll grow exponentially." And after that, Asta gets exciting, asks if they're going to train. And then Noct goes on to explain, as things tell him that currently he's not using the devil's full strength the way that the others, Xenon, Dante, and can't remember old girl's name with the spade eye patch, cannot remember her, Well, I know who she is, but I can remember her magic, but I can't remember her name. But pretty much he's not making full efficient use of the devil's magic. He pretty much tells them that he's just using trickles. So basically, everything we've seen Asta do, from his 3 swords, Black Divider, Black Bull Rush, everything we've seen has just been the drops from the potential ocean of power that he could potentially be at his disposal. Now, Noct takes off his robe, revealing a black, what looks like could be like a sweater, kind of like what Yuno wears. And around his neck, there are 4, what I think could be classified, not totems, but 4 relics around his neck. Now, you're going to see why I call them relics in a second, but they look like a feather, a claw, a tooth, and something else. Could be like the end of a tail or something. But then goes on to tell Asta what they're about to do. It's called a devil binding ritual. He's pretty much doing this. He's going to be able to make a contract with the devil and make his power his own formally. So instead of just pretty much doing the Naruto thing where, and I'm just going to take your power for the time being, we're actually going to make this shit official. Like y'all going to get on the same page. And this ceremony, of course, like messing with devils mess with devils is a forbidden ceremony, which goes without saying. You're fucking with devils. And he tells them after doing it, he'll be able to draw out that power. He'll be able to draw out power as well. He then goes on to explain this ritual requires a connection to a devil, which Asta already has. He tells them that normally you need a relic linked to the devil, which is something that which is what he has. As he's explaining this, he's pointing to the relics around his neck, pretty much making it solidified. Like, these are my relics, because as we've seen, he has 4 beasts that are at his disposal, which are devils. And he's like, yeah, these are my 4. And he says that the connection allows you to temporarily summon the devil to your world. But he tells Asta that Asta's a little bit different. With his arm being the way it is, that grimoire, he already has a deep connection to a devil. So Asta goes on to step up, to which Noct says summon, and a magical circle appears around them. Asta then feels the black energy coming up off him, and in front of him, we see a devil sitting. Well, kind of sitting. It's like it's sitting on something with his leg hanging off, but whatever it's sitting on, we can't see. And Asta sees this, and he looks on, but his arm is gone, with the nub being covered in the black energy, which was probably the same anti-magic energy that he normally uses. He then goes on to say that he recognizes it as the devil, to which the devil then laughs and tells him, "Would you look at that? Who would have thought you'd voluntarily release me?" To which Noct finally answers Asta's question. You fight the devil and win. Now, it should be noted here that this is a dope ass panel to end on, but also the devil's horns look like Asta's does when he's in his black form. Of course, when Asta's using that form, he's using more of the devil's power, so of course his hair's gonna look like the devil's. So okay, that's cool. Now, the funny thing is, the devil has white hair, just like Asta. So, with Yuno being a spade, I should go ahead and say, like, hey, I like the chapter. It's really dope, and it's kind of an info dumpy, but it's moving the needle. We're getting, okay, these motherfuckers didn't just wake up and just have devil powers. So what we've seen from the Dark Triad is the end result of what Asta's about to go through. And it's great that we finally get to have this shit explained. Like, this is a thing, and this is a thing. This is something that happens. This is normal, quote unquote. Well, for people who want to use WEG and the devil's power, this is normal. But still, the fact that the devil has white hair and Asta has white hair, it's kind of weird. And I want to go over kind of a theory that I've been having with Asta. Now, Yuno is a Spade Kingdom prince and the reincarnation of Lix, with one of Lix's children. All right, bet. Kind of got that from the chapters. I didn't guess that prior, and he's Spade Kingdom prince and simultaneously a reincarnation of an elf. Cool. Now Asta, who was left with him, I think that he might have been an orphan of, well, not necessarily, well, yeah, an orphan because he was left, an orphan of a cult of demon worshippers. And the fact that he has this deep connection without needing to go through a ritual first, because normally, I guess what he's saying is, even to get to the point Asta is, you normally need a link. But Asta's already got the link, so he's probably like, I'd say 5% of the way there, and the other 95% will actually come out from doing the ritual. But the fact that the Asta looks like this devil, that cannot be coincidence. Because it can be assumed that Asta's devil is far older than him, but yet it still looks like him. I don't know if that's just supposed to be coincidence or that's going to be a connection. Like I said, I think Asta's got some type of deep connection with the devils. Like maybe, like I said, he's an orphan who was raised, he's an orphan of a devil worshipping cultist who was like, oh fuck man, nah man, fuck this, I gotta get out of here. Let me leave this kid. They're gonna kill me. Or he could actually have some relation, like some biological relation to the devils. But all in all, good chapter. Got some subtle hints to Nox's backstory. Like I said, I'm guessing that's his house. I'm guessing he probably couldn't just use any ruined noble's house. I'm guessing it's his, and I'm guessing that this room has something to do with why his family fell from nobility. Looks like there was some devil shit going on in that basement, but we'll see. Definitely let me know what you think in the comment section below regarding Black Clover. But next up, we're gonna do a little bit of demon slaying. Alrighty, coming off the devils of Black Clover, we're gonna go into the demons of Demon Slayer. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yo, bruh, Demon Slayer's over. Like, how could you possibly review a Demon Slayer chapter? Are you gonna start reviewing old Demon Slayer chapters? Maybe. Let's keep that in the back of our heads for right now. But Koyoharu Gotuge, I hope I'm saying his or her, which I think is a dude, but I'm not gonna just say it's a male. It could potentially be a woman. Anyway, came out with a one-shot chapter, and you know me, I've done 3 Demon Slayer videos so far on my channel, and I definitely want to do more. Waiting on that, so it's gonna be a while before the next breathing video. I know we gotta talk about the upcoming train movie, but we'll get into that another time. But for right now, yeah, came up with a special Demon Slayer chapter, which not ironically, which actually does tie in to the train arc, being that it's the backstory of the Flame Hashira, Kyojuro Rengoku, who is not my favorite character, that's Giyu Tamioka, but is definitely a character I think is really cool. But without further ado, because the chapter is out and we are missing One Piece this week, yet again, hashtag pray for Oda, we are going to review this in its stead. Which, yet again, I'll try to do this chapter as much justice as I can because it's only one chapter, which I really do hope Koyoharu does more chapters like this, exploring the backstories of more of the Hashira, and maybe we can get this in the anime instead of some fucking filler. But anyway, yet again, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Demon Slayer, special one shot, which I don't think it has a name. Hold up, let me check right quick. Let me go through, because I don't think this one has a name. Yep, no name. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do this right here, and I'm not recording. I gotta scroll back all the way through the chapter, and yes, I've read this a couple times. The chapter starts off with a talk between Kyojuro Rengoku and his father. I think it's not Senjuro. I can't remember his father's name. But anyway, it starts off with a talk between him and his father. His father telling him that both him and his brother lack talent, so they mustn't harbor unrealistic expectations for themselves. And he then goes on to note that he himself will be the last Flame Hashira. And goes on to tell Kyojuro, you can't take my place, and walks away from him plain as day, like without even saying another word to him. Kyojuro then goes on to ponder. Does everyone have to be in agreement in recognizing and praising a person's talent for that person to pursue a dream? If someone lacks immense skill and strength, does hard work toward fulfilling that dream mean nothing? And the desire to help other people count for nothing? Excuse me. But then, while he's pondering this, he walks in on his he walks upon his little brother practicing with a wooden bokken, to which his brother falls. Shinjiro then notices his brother and is embarrassed that he's to his brother seeing him working hard. To which Kyojuro then tells him, "Don't be. He was training hard, and that is a wonderful thing." It makes his brother's face light up, and I'm telling you, Koyoharo, he like the comedy sections in his manga are some of my favorite. Like, just the way he draws them, like the cuteness and like some of like the side comments and things that, you know, aren't action related or story related. Like, you know, when Tanjiro and them are making like funny faces, the shit's the best. But anyway, he tells them that he's leaving on his first mission, which ties us in. This is his first mission, and it should be also noted that on the cover page, there is a noticeably smaller Kyojuro. When I first was starting to read this, I thought to myself, that doesn't look like Koyoharu's art style. I guess he might be like a Boruto situation where he's not doing it and they're letting somebody else do it. No, the reason he's not as defined and big as he is because this is way before that. This is probably years. Well, this has to be years before we see him in the train movie. Well, in the train arc. So, of course, he's going to be less defined. He hasn't been through as many battles or trained as hard at that point in his career. So this is a story of his first mission, kind of, sort of. So it then goes on to him departing, to which he just says, "See ya," and runs off, and his brother calling to him, telling him that he's going to work hard and be just like him, to which causes Kyojuro to freeze. He then flashes back to his own final selection, to which another demon slayer, a boy with long hair and a girl with long hair, are telling him that they want to be like him so that they can protect their friends and other people. That way nobody will have to lose their family to demons. Kyojuro is stunned, to which he then says, "Hey, I'm no Hashira or anything. I'm nobody special." But he looks at the boy with tears in his eyes and makes him realize that, you know, he's got to speak. He has to say something to him. "Let's work hard together." The boy yet again continues to weep in joy and says, "Okay." Kyojuro then goes on to, you know, as they thank him, he then goes on to pontificate. "He was the same age as me, and he held a broken sword broken by a demon. He said, 'Let's work hard together.' It's usually easy to say, but for some reason, Kyojuro himself stuttered. That was because he held a sense of foreboding that he might die. In that moment, something told him that boy had a dark cloud over his head." We then see Kyojuro yet again pondering to himself, but this time he has his Hiyori on. In that moment, we see the back of his father. I can't remember his name. I haven't looked it up. I think it's Rojuro or something. Anyway, it's something Juro, like his sons. But anyway, he said that in that moment, he thought about why his father had grown cold. Perhaps his father had seen the same fate for them and didn't want them to die. But only father knows what he was thinking. Which, yet again, if you've read the manga and you've seen the end of the train arc, you know what his father thinks. We then flash to a demon who's speaking to us, speaking to us, but actually Kyojuro says, you're the reinforcements. Only one isn't enough. But tells him that he won't die alone, that his comrades are waiting in the afterlife for him. We then pan over to Kyojuro standing before the demon as he counts up to 9 demon slayer corpses. And he then says that on top of those 9 demon slayers, He's also sucked the innards from 5 kids. And then he says, oops, one's still alive, talking about a child who was crying and cowering while being held in the arms of a demon slayer who has passed. He then goes on to say that they'll all hold hands as they cross to the other side. And then he goes on to pontificate again. Father always said that death comes often for comrades with whom you've recently shared a laugh. Demons are truly awful. And it's here that we see that the pair that he was talking to during final selection are among the corpses of the demon slayers that this demon has killed. But it should be noted that the boy's not only cut his hair, but he is making a symbol with his hands. Kyojuro then goes on to slash at the demon. I don't know which form this is, because I have read over the flame breathing, not fire breathing. You have to say flame breathing. They're very strict about that form this is, but you see that he does slash him. I think it could potentially be the first form, but yet again, I'll cover that video. I'm going to talk about when I'm going to do that video at the end of this, but let's keep going. To which the demon effortlessly jumps, flips, and dodges, and then takes out a flute and starts playing. Kyojuro then slaps his ears in order to cover them, and the demon then goes on to summon 2 ethereal wolves to act in his stead while he plays his flute. He tells him that Kyojuro is at a disadvantage. You can't cover your ears and hold your sword at the same time. That means he can't fight. He then goes on to say that because he's not moving, he must have noticed his power. If you move in the slightest, you'll collapse and writhe on the ground. He goes on to explain that his flute disrupts a person's nervous system, and that if you try to move your foot, your head will move, and if you try to move your hand, your foot will move. So it scrambles his brain signals. So if he tries to swing his sword, then he's going to move another part of his body, and he'll be eaten alive. They go on to tell him, you humans train so hard, but before his flute, it's all useless. And he's pretty well informed, because if you're used to moving because in front of this power, you could figure it out. It's like, okay, if I want to actually move my hands, I have to think about wiggling my nose. And given enough time, you can figure that out. But in the middle of a battle, where you're so used to thinking move hands, and in that moment when moving your hands could potentially mean, you wiggling your butt or clenching your ass cheeks, you're pretty much dead. So honestly, that is a very devastating power, and if you didn't know about it going in, that's potentially going to get you killed, because he can play his flute, but he can also summon these wolves to attack. So even though he's immobilized while playing his flute, he can summon these dogs to attack you, and therefore you're fucked. But let's continue, because we know that Kyojuro goes on to become a Hashira, so he's got to get out of this. But how does he get out of this? He continues to, yet again, wax lyrical by his powers. His dogs will devour him as you writhe like a filthy worm. Kyojuro, as the wolves are coming towards him, continues to ponder upon his life. Life is a series of decisions. You never have unlimited options or unlimited time to think, but what you choose in that instant defines who you are. Warriors who strive to save other people's lives are precious, and their pure and single-minded dedication is separate from their natural talent. Now, as he's saying this next part, that part I just read, and this next part, it flashes back to the demon slayers being eaten by the demon dogs and trying to protect the children. And it's a pretty gruesome sight, honestly, because it looks like they got torn the fuck apart, and that is horrible. Anyway, they don't risk their lives to earn praise. They simply feel that they must. What they choose in that moment is a cry from the depths of their soul, saying that what a person does in a moment like that is who they truly are. But we then flash back to the current scene, where Kyojuro is slashing both dogs' heads, thinking to himself, isn't that right, my friends? The demon is frozen and stunned, wide-eyed, wondering what the hell just happened as his head is being cut off, and Rengoku is using what I know is the 5th flame breathing form, Tiger, or Flaming Tiger rather. The demon's head then falls and rolls. He then goes on to think to himself, wondering what happened. He should have heard my flute without his ears covered. And then he looks closer and sees King Kyojiro's, his ears are bruised. He hit his ears so hard he ruptures his own eardrums, which could possibly be why he speaks so loudly in the present day. If you've seen the anime, he speaks very loudly. At least what I've seen in the anime, and it might hold true in the when the next part's anime we see more of him, because he's constantly. This could be potentially why this might have lasted, which I think if you rupture your eardrums, you can't heal that. Although breathing can do a lot of shit you really shouldn't be able to do, but that's another story for another day. Kyojiro then goes on to explain, my fallen comrades use sign language to indicate your ability. They couldn't control their bodies fully, so the information was jumbled, but it was enough. Remember that hand signal that I mentioned earlier? It was his comrade relaying his power to the reinforcements. Now, which is very impressive, because not only are they being torn apart, but he can't control his body. He might have want to move his fingers, but this motherfucker might have been blinking uncontrollably, so he had to figure out how to move his fingers while he was being torn apart by dogs, which is impressive. Before disappearing, he tries to say that he was going to join the 12 Kizuki, but he's cut off as his body disintegrates. The child then runs over to Kyojiro, and as he says it's all right, and yet again the child seeing this shit is obviously distraught. He then goes on to think while he holds the child, thanks to you I saved a life. Thank you for fighting to the very end to save lives other than your own. Thank you for your help. I vow to someday become admirable like you. The end. Alright, like I said, a very good chapter. The art was great. It was great seeing Koyoharu's art style again. I reread Demon Slayer at least I reread a couple chapters every now and again and rewatch like some scenes from the anime, but it was very good to see this art style again, because I'm telling you, I didn't expect to see anything of potentially his for a long time. So this was a welcome surprise, especially with what's going on with Oda. You know, I don't know if they knew if this was gonna be before, if they knew they were gonna do this before Oda announced that he was gonna take the break, or if it was like, hey, some last minute, like somebody came and like, hey, we need you to put something out, you know, to kind of fill that One Piece void. But it's very good, and it, like I said, it just shows a lot more of him in his younger days, how he became the way he is. And like I said, I hope that we get some more of these for the other Hashira, for Giyu, because I know Giyu has a Gaiden. I think it's like either like a manga, manga. I don't say manga when I'm talking about some very adult things. But a manga about, I think it's either a manga or a light novel about Giyu's backstory. But I want to know about Tengen. I think we know enough about Gyome, but or Oguro or the others. It would just be really good to see some of their stories on the page. But anyway, now that we're off of that, time for some heroes. Alright, and ending it out this week is going to be Kohei Horikoshi's My Hero Academia. Number 286, The Ones Within Us. The chapter opens with Deku noticing, finally coming out of his tunnel vision and noticing what happened to Bakugo. And Bakugo, as he's being stabbed, telling Deku, stop trying to win this by yourself. And then we got the burnt out husk that is Shigaraki saying cut it out, and then retracting the claws and the tendrils from Bakugo, who then begins to fall. But thankfully our boy Todoroki is there to catch him and Endeavor. He already caught Endeavor, and he then goes to catch Bakugo by his pants leg. But yet again, Shigaraki's burnt out husk goes on to keep speaking. It goes on to say that the battle that was waged today, so much blood spilled for no good reason. To which Deku just looks at him, and then Shigaraki goes on to say, as you can tell, it's regenerating, because in the previous shots it was bald and had no hair, and then now it's starting to grow his white hair back. It goes on to say the last bit being the most pointless of all. Deku then goes on to remember Aizawa, Gran Torino, Manuel, and the others, and the destruction of a town, which I'm not even sure how the fuck he knows about. Well, excuse me, the destruction of the town that Shigaraki destroyed. I thought it was he was remembering the town that Makina's destroying, which I was about to say, like, whoa, bruh, you didn't even see that. But anyway, Deku has this really fucked up look on his face. He is angry as shit, and then goes on to charge at Shigaraki, ripping through the tendrils and breaking them, going so far as to bite one of them. And then we get this really, really dope shot of his eyes white. Like I said, the art in these last few chapters has been on fucking point. But it then goes on to say, take it back. And then we can see Shigaraki's face with a scar through it. He's looking at Deku coming towards him. But then we also see, as we get closer, we get a close-up of Shigaraki's face growing back. But in the scar, it widens and we see One For All's face grinning at him. We then cut back to Syro City, which is the city that Makina was heading towards, and he is wrecking shit. The news is reporting that he's destroying everything, to which Makina, he's thinking to himself, he says, "Master scent, I smell too." Well, I got a theory that I'll explain later, but it looks like he's smelling both Shigaraki and All For One scent emanating from Shigaraki's body. We then go on to see Jakku City suburbs being evacuated, and the students realize they're gonna have to step in and stop it, because the heroes that are fighting Shigaraki don't know. They've been so caught up with him, and they've probably seen like flashes, especially with when Endeavor used his prominence burn. And they realize in Showdown, we can't just let this shit happen. We see Nejide, Ida, Ochako, Atsui, Animal Dude, Manga, and then we focus. They're rushing, to say like, okay, we got to do something. We then focus on Ochako, who's thinking. It feels like nothing's gotten better. She's remembering certain points, as when Shigaraki first appeared at USJ, the training camp, and even not Dagobah, that was the arena, but Camino Ward, where All Might fought One For All For One, excuse me. And she's commenting how things have steadily gotten worse since everything started. We then see Todoroki yelling for Midoriya, who's being pushed back somewhat. He's being mushed in the face by the gnarled left hand of Shigaraki, to which yet again Todoroki keeps screaming for him to kind of snap him out of it, because he is just become a blind ball of rage. And then we see him, like, as he's going towards Shigaraki, he snaps out of it. You see, like, his face, he has that aha moment. Like, he heard his name, and he's snapping out of the stupor. Well, not the stupor, but the rage. We then hear Shigaraki say, "One For All is mine. Finally got a hold of you." To which we then cut to Midoriya in the other world, the place where the embers of One For All reside. Part of his body is most of his body is black. We see his eyes up are there, his ears, most of his right arm, most of his right arm is corporeal, but his right shoulder down to part of his bicep is still black. His neck, most of his left arm down to halfway down the forearm, and most of his legs except for his left knee. He then sees Shigaraki in the distance arguing with All For One. All for One berating, well, not berating, I'm telling him, hey, I lent you my strength, you needed me, you would have died either by A, burning the cinders, or B, falling to your death. To which Shigaraki tells him to shut up, that he's running the show now. Deku then tries to run over to him but falls, and then a hand graces his head. You can't move in this world yet, so let us handle this. To which we see a full body of Nana Shimura in the other world. Alright, this chapter, not a lot to say, but yet again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. This art has been on fucking point. Like Horikoshi knows what he's doing, and he is doing the motherfucking thing. Like, that cannot be understated. That cannot be overstated. He's doing his fucking thing with these chapters. Also, I've seen some people, I haven't watched any videos about the chapter yet, but I've seen some people saying that Deku got his power stolen. Let's go ahead and dispel that right now. Deku didn't get his power stolen. His power can't be stolen, like All Might told him. Your power can't be stolen, because remember, Deku, when Stain licked his blood, he was worried about that, but then All Might reassured him, your power can't be stolen. It can be forcibly given, like somebody could force him to give his power, but it can't be stolen, which is why old boy from class B, who's always talking shit and trying to stir up shit between the classes, when he uses his copy, it never works. And then I theorized that even if old girl, not Tomura, that's Toga, if Toga would ever take the little bit of blood she has from him and lick it and try to pose as him, she can't use his powers. So yeah, I see some people going on about that. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Can't happen. We've already established his power can't be stolen. But anyway, it's interesting to see Nana, because we've seen the vestiges come one at a time. And I know he just unlocked Float, so this could be like his moment, like when Banjo showed up when he unlocked Black Whip, or if we're about to get to see the other vestiges trying to fight One For All as well, because now One For All is sort of a vestige now as well, so I don't know if that's gonna have anything specific to do with it. Dope ass chapter, really looking forward to the 11th so we can see the next part. But anyway, on to the awards. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and we have come to the awards section where we rank which chapter was the best, which chapter was the worst. Alright, this time I'm gonna go from the top down. I know I normally go from the bottom up, but I'm just feeling the top down kind of mood. Of course, like it's been the last few times, well, the last 3-4 weeks, something like that, My Hero Academia. Like, this art and like the shit that we're learning about One For All For One, just the twists and turns that Horikoshi's been taking us on, definitely been some good shit. And yet again, this, like I said, this arc really, or this part of the arc rather, really feels like we're getting like, this is going to be the start of the rest of My Hero Academia, and I'm loving the build up, especially with the way this chapter ended. We're definitely, it's definitely about to be some shit. Like, we're about to get some type of revelation between All For One and Nana especially, and we might even get some of the other vestiges of One For All. So I'm definitely looking forward to what's setting up. So yeah, the gold medal goes to My Hero Academia. Second place goes to Black Clover. It's a bit of an info dumpy chapter, but still, it's setting up for some good shit. That's the thing, as a series, I couldn't tell you where Black Clover is. I don't know if we're heading towards a true time skip. That 6 months really wasn't shit and didn't really change anything. We're heading towards like a year plus time skip, like a halfway point, or if we're heading to the end game. I don't think end game, I think we're just heading to like another part, but I couldn't tell you what. We're getting a lot about devils, like they need relics. So pretty much what means every one of the Dark Triad should have a relic attached to their devil. So maybe if they can't beat them straight up in a fight, they should be able to take out the relic, and maybe that'll kind of weaken the Demon Link. And we're about to finally get some information about the Spade Kingdom coming up relatively shortly, because Alex has got to finish his training. We got to kind of look in on the other training of the training of the other, what's going to be the Elite Knight Squad, the Royal Knights once again. So really looking forward to that, seeing what shakes up there, and just Because I know I'm really gonna love learning about Spade Kingdom. I love learning about places that aren't the home. Like in Naruto, the Leaf Village was like what we always saw. So when we saw like the Sand Village, the Mist Village, Cloud, yada yada yada. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, Black Clover, I definitely it's over. Solid chapter, just really didn't blow me away. And bringing up the rear, which is a bronze, but it wasn't a bad chapter. Demon Slayer. Now, the only thing about Demon Slayer that I'll say is it wasn't a bad chapter, but it was really, it was fluff. If you would have told if this was gonna be an ongoing thing, like, oh, we're gonna get more Demon Slayer chapters, especially like Kyojiro's backstory, I'd be like, okay, you know, I could deal with it. It'd still be a bronze medal, but I could more easily deal with it. But since this is gonna be a one-off, it's like, well, fuck. Okay. Art was solid. Like I said, seeing Koyotaro's work after a while, some fresh work, I should say, after a while is really good. And I think this is indicative of Demon Slayer as a series, not just an anime or a manga, just a series itself. Demon Slayer isn't bad. I'd have to really deep dive to find some problems with Demon Slayer, like plot holes, inconsistencies, power scaling, blah 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 blah. I'd have to try, but from what I'm just thinking of off the top of my head, Demon Slayer's biggest flaw, if you could call it a flaw, is it didn't do enough. Like this chapter didn't really do anything for Kyojiro. Like the action was there, but it was mild. Like, honestly, Demon Slayer as a series has some really highs, but overall, as a series, it's mild sauce. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you don't want the spicy shit. You don't want the sweet shit. You want the mild sauce. It tastes like, it could be spicier. But not a bad chapter in and of itself. Just didn't necessarily blow me away and didn't give me any real insight like Black Clover did. So it ended up on the bottom. Yet again, not a bad chapter. Just didn't really do anything. Just didn't do anything spectacular, I should say. But anyway, that's going to bring this episode of Shonen Showdown to a close. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe if you like what you saw, or dislike if you really didn't. Tell me what was your favorite moment from these chapters. Is there anything that I missed? Definitely tell me in the comment section below. But yet again, this has been your boy, the D20, signing out. See you guys.